We will remain standing for the national anthem. Thanks very much. Please resume your seats. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, Ministers of State and other government officials, Chair and members of the University of Ghana Council, Chair and members of the College of Education Advisory Board, Madam Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, Registrar, Provost, Deans, Directors, Governor of Bank of Ghana, Board Chairman of MTN Ghana and our distinguished keynote speaker, members of convocation, students, Nananom, friends from the media, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, a Happy New Year to you all. I repeat it, a Happy New Year to you all. On behalf of the management of the University of Ghana, I welcome you all to the Great Hall of the University. It is at the premier university in Ghana, the nation's hope and glory, that we consider it a mandate to advance knowledge, promote critical thinking, and contribute to national discourse and development at the beginning of the new year. This tradition sees the University of Ghana open the new year with the annual New Year School and Conference, a platform for dialogue, reflection, and policy engagement, which this university has observed for almost 8 decades. Under this year's theme, Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development, we joined governments to build the prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable Ghana we all dream of. It is for this reason that we are especially honored to be joined by the highest office holder of our nation, a leader groomed by our university in the person of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama this morning. President Mahama and his cabinet have been working to build the Ghana we want for ourselves and for the next generation. And that is why we consider the theme for this year's annual New Year School very apt. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor at this time to invite our registrar, Mrs. Emilia J. Mensah, to deliver opening remarks and to introduce the chairperson for this very important meeting. Please join me to welcome Mrs. Emilia J. Mensah.
Thank you very much, Director of Public Affairs. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Ministers of State and Members of Parliament, Chair and members of the University Council, former Chair of the University Council, who is the keynote speaker for this program, Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Academic and Student Affairs, Provosts and other officials of the university, special guests, participants and partners of the annual New Year School and Conference, faculty, staff and students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all and a Happy New Year as well. And let me also welcome you to the Great Hall of the University of Ghana. A special welcome goes to our special guest, His Excellency the President. The annual New Year School and Conference is one of the first major events on the university's calendar each year and has over the years served as an important channel for the promotion of good governance and socio-economic development in Ghana. I'd like to congratulate the College of Education and the School of Continuing and Distance Education for maintaining the momentum of this important national exercise for 77 years, and we look forward to enlightening engagement over the next few days. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct honor to introduce the chairperson for this morning's program. Madam Marietta Ajewa Brew is a distinguished Ghanaian legal practitioner whose career spans over 3 decades of service in public and private legal practice, international arbitration, and governance. She served as Ghana's Attorney General and Minister for Justice between 2013 and 2017, and is currently the legal counsel to the President of the Republic of Ghana, a role in which she advises on constitutional and governance matters, legislation, and legal compliance. She is currently the chairperson of the University of Ghana's Governing Council. Madam Brew's professional journey is defined by her deep commitment to justice, her capacity to operate at the highest levels of legal and governmental decision-making, and her international recognition as an expert in arbitration and commercial law. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Madam Marietta Ajewa Brew, chairperson for this morning's opening ceremony.
Your Excellency, John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Ministers of State present, Governor, Vice Chancellor and Pro-Vice Chancellors, distinguished keynote speaker, council members, and I'll just rely on all the protocols already observed by the Madam Registrar. Mr. President, it is a profound privilege to preside over this morning's ceremony, a duty I accept with great honor and a deep sense of responsibility. Tradition is the anchor of every great institution. For 77 years, as the new year breaks over our nation, this university has gathered the finest minds from academia to industry, from the marketplace to the farm, from cities and villages, to deliberate the cause of our nation. Today, we continue that long-standing tradition. Over the years, the annual New Year School and Conference has established itself as a platform for critical discourse on all facets of national life. By harnessing the collective expertise of diverse professionals, the school has consistently evolved, driving a research and development agenda that extends far beyond the University of Ghana into the very heart of our nation. Distinguished guests, as I take the chair, I invite you all to reflect deeply on this year's theme, which is building the Ghana we want together for sustainable development, and particularly on 3 critical words: want, together, and sustainable. These are not just fanciful words, they are guiding principles that demand careful interrogation. The Ghana we want. This acknowledges a profound truth that the Ghana we live in today is not yet the Ghana we can become. It recognizes a gap between where we are and where we ought to be. As we navigate a period of change in all aspects of our national life, we must define precisely what that want looks like. Is it just economic stability, or is it a Ghana of social justice where the rule of law is supreme? The Ghana we want should not be limited to expanding wealth alone. It must be matched by social justice, where growth is accompanied by dignity and where the rule of law is absolute. Together, nation building is not a solitary pursuit. It is not the preserve of the executive, judiciary, or the legislature alone. It is a collective enterprise. It is a shared responsibility, and the effort of each and every Ghanaian is needed to achieve definite results. As the adage goes, one finger is not enough to lift a load. The word together signifies that progress is not achieved by accident or through the work of a few. Progress can only be achieved through disciplined and collective action across every layer of society. Every hand must play its part. Sustainable. We do not desire progress that is periodic or reversible. We seek development that surpasses political cycles and is resilient enough to endure changing leadership and shifting global conditions. True sustainability lies in systems, institutions, and policies and values that deliver results long after their architects have exited the stage. This year's school is not a passive forum. It is an active construction site. And over the next few days, we should be the architects, the masons, and the surveyors, interrogating, testing, and ensuring that what we build will stand the test of time. Mr. President, let me recognize the significant work of the School of Continuing and Distance Education, College of Education, in sustaining and nurturing the annual New Year School and Conference for 77 years. The persistence and resilience of the school is truly commendable. Also, we eagerly await the completion and unveiling of the Digital Youth Village. This initiative will ultimately expand the university's impact among the country's young population. Special appreciation goes to the government for the immense support so far, and we plead for continuous support to facilitate completion and utilization of the project. Mr. President, your presence here signifies that the highest office of the land values dialogue and citizen engagement. We know, and I know, your administration is focused on resetting and revitalizing our productive sectors. The early actions and policy directives from your administration point to a deliberate effort to reset governance, stabilize the economy, rebuild trust through consultation and institutional respect, and ultimately improve the lives of Ghanaians. We assure you, Mr. President, that this platform will provide dispassionate, evidence-based scrutiny and support for these national goals. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you productive and insightful discussions as you explore the theme, Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development. I encourage all our speakers to be bold in their ideas and challenge our thinking. I also urge the audience to be inquisitive, critical, and fully engaged. We are here to build the Ghana we want together. Thank you and welcome once again. Thank you very much, Madam Marietta Brew, our Chair of University Council, for accepting to chair this very important ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to listen to our Vice Chancellor, and it's my honor to invite Professor Nanaba Appiah-Amfo, the first female Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, to deliver her speech. Please, let's welcome.
Thank you, Director of Public Affairs. Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Madam Mariette Jewa-Bru, Chairperson of the University Council, and members of University Council present, Pro-Vice Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, Madam Registrar, members of the Council of State, our distinguished keynote speaker, the Honorable Minister for Education and other ministers who are present here, the Governor of the Bank of Ghana and his deputy, the President of the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development. Today I have all the money people here, so all my problems are solved even before I spoke. Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, our international guests from the Bahamas, Estonia, and Greece, Provost Deans, Directors, and Heads of Departments, key partners of the New Year School, our esteemed traditional rulers, faculty and staff of the university, participants, the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Akwaba, and Happy New Year. It's always my pleasure to welcome people to the University of Ghana, and it is with great joy that in this new year I welcome you all to the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference. As we heard from our chair, for nearly 8 decades, this school has stood as a towering monument to our nation's intellectual resilience. It remains the unique platform where the gown meets the town, where the university opens its gates to stakeholders of diverse backgrounds, from public and private sector, civil society, policy think tanks, and the general citizenry to engage in thoughtful deliberation critical for national development. We are especially honored this year to welcome the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, back to his alma mater as he joins us to open the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference. We are proud that the President has 2 degrees from this university. Your Excellency, your presence here today at the beginning of this new year signals a profound commitment to intellectual discourse, which is an essential tool for governance and nation reconstruction. On behalf of management and the entire university community, I extend our deepest gratitude to you for honoring our invitation. Our theme this year is Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development. This theme is bold in its simplicity and powerful in its intent. Distinguished guests, as we reflect on it, one thing becomes clear. The we in the theme is intentional. It reminds us that the future we desire cannot be crafted by one institution, one sector of government, or one organization alone. It calls for all of us, every citizen, old and young, to recognize that we each have a stake in the Ghana we hope to build. Your Excellency, as a university committed to national and global development through cutting-edge research, quality teaching and learning, we have been intentional in contributing to the Ghana we want. In line with the mandate of the university, we have introduced programs that seek to address critical development gaps in our economy. Our programs continuously undergo rigorous restructuring to ensure that they respond to global challenges. The university has also established strategic collaborations with institutions, both locally and internationally, to pursue groundbreaking research. These partnerships, our students are exposed to learning opportunities which make them fully equipped as innovators, problem solvers, and nation builders to contribute meaningfully to the Ghana we are building. Our commitment to a transformative student experience, which is the first strategic priority of our 2024 to 2029 strategic plan, has yielded visible fruits through our provision of laptops for students, the classroom modernization project, and the provision of hotspot comfort zones across our campuses. Mr. President, I'm happy to report that the University of Ghana, in collaboration with Imperial College London and the Cosmos Innovation Center, KIC, recently commissioned an innovation enclave and makerspace. This is a progressive facility designed to empower students, researchers, and entrepreneurs to transform ideas into impactful solutions addressing Africa's present challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not resting on these achievements. We are vigorously pursuing funding for the construction of a student experience center, a legacy project for our 75th anniversary. Once completed, this multi-purpose complex housing leadership training hubs, offices for student services, health and wellness centers, creative studios, and commercial spaces will reflect the kind of holistic education we believe in, one that develops not only the intellect, but the creativity, curiosity, and confidence of our students. We have the support of the Honorable Minister for Education on this, and he is helping us all the way through to secure the needed funding. We have also, thank you. We have also translated our digital ambitions into tangible progress through the Digital Youth Village, a one-stop shop for young people to build digital entrepreneurship skills. And this is for young people of the country, not just University of Ghana students. The physical structure is over 60% complete, and I wish to express sincere appreciation to the government, both past and present, for their commitment and budgetary allocation to the project. The only challenge we have is the release of funds to the contractor. However, I am optimistic that Mr. President and the Deputy Minister for Finance, who is here, the Governor is here. I told you all my problems are solved. They would use their good offices to facilitate the release of funds to ensure timely completion of the project. The Digital Youth Village will be the hub for government's flagship 1 million coders program. Pending the completion of the construction of the Digital Youth Village, we have committed to offer our existing facilities for this initiative, which seeks to empower Ghanaians with the skills of today and the future. These interventions are not vanity metrics. They are the university's contribution to building the Ghana we want together. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these are but a few of the initiatives which indicates that the University of Ghana is not just speaking about the future. We are actively participating in building a sustainable future for our dear nation, Ghana. The 77th Annual New Year School and Conference is therefore a platform to scale up the conversation, which is intended to accelerate active collaboration between government, academia, private sector, and citizens to bring about sustainable development. Your Excellency, in your New Year message to the nation, you reaffirmed the commitment to building a Ghana anchored in inclusive growth, sustainable infrastructure, energy security, quality education and healthcare, youth empowerment, environmental responsibility, and renewed integrity in public life. These priorities reflect the Ghana we all desire, a nation that grows not only in economic terms, but in equity, opportunity, and trust. To conclude, I am confident that this year's participants, drawn from all over the country, as well as from other countries, including civil society organizations, professional bodies, academia, private sector organizations, and many others will make the most of this opportunity to bring their diverse expertise to bear on these critical national and global issues of sustainable development and to help propel young people towards the future of work. In addition to the panel discussions, this year's conference has a special feature, a project forum to showcase innovative interventions of the youth. These include the Nkabom Collaborative and the Digital Youth Village projects here at UG, a Juma Tech AI project from the Bahamas, innovations from Tallinn University, Estonia, youth in agriculture, and the 1 Million Coders projects of the government of Ghana. I look forward to vibrant discussions and reflections on the 4 major sub-themes of this year's conference. The Ghana we desire cannot be spoken into existence. It must be worked into reality, built by our collective efforts, guided by sound policy, and held together by our common bond. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, I warmly welcome you once again to the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference. Afishiapa, I wish you all a prosperous, productive, and peaceful New Year. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice Chancellor. Madam Chair, Your Excellency, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you can take our Vice Chancellor by her word. If she says she's leading us to help build the Ghana that we all want, she does what she says. Please let's give her another round of applause. It is now time to relax and enjoy a performance by the Ghana Dance Ensemble. For this first performance, the Ghana Dance Ensemble will be giving us the Ajogo dance, performed by the Evers from the Volta region and Oti region. The dance was first used as a religious activity meant for fortifying and providing spiritual protection for warriors. The Ajogo dance has been selected for this year's annual New Year School. First, to reiterate that the battles are won through strategic planning and creativity. In line with this, building the Ghana that we want for sustainable development, we need to be strategic and creative in our planning and developmental processes. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Ajogo dance. Please let's welcome the Ghana Dance Ensemble. Thank you very much, Ghana Dance Ensemble. Thank you very much for the Ajogo dance. We thank you. We will soon listen to our partners. Here at the University of Ghana, our first strategic priority is engagement and partnerships. And so we engage and partner many organizations to be able to champion our strategic priorities to achieve our goals. And this is something that the School of Continuing and Distance Education, which organizes the annual New Year School, is doing so well. So we will soon listen to our partners, but before we do that, I would like us to acknowledge the presence of some dignitaries. We have with us here the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and Acting Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Honorable Emmanuel Amakufibua. We also have the Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religion, Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. And the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Honorable Dr. John Abdullahi Jinapo. Well, he will be joining us later. We also have the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Honorable Elizabeth Ofosuejare. And we are privileged to have our own MP, the Member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wagon, Honorable John Dumelo. We also have here with us Dr. Godwin Kujo Tamaklu, Esquire, Chief Executive Officer, National Petroleum Authority. And we also have Mr. Kwame Into Amwa, Acting Chief Executive Officer of GNPC. The Vice Chancellor mentioned the delegates from Tallinn University. Please, could you give us a wave? Kindly give us a wave. Thank you very much. I'll continue with the acknowledgements as we move on. For now, we have our partners here with us, and they are going to give us a maximum of 3-minute speech. They are going to give us goodwill messages at a maximum of 3 minutes. I'll first of all invite Dr. Johnson Esiama, Governor of Bank of Ghana. Please, let's welcome him.
So I'm told I have only 3 minutes to deliver something that consists of about 10 pages. But I will try to do so. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic, Chairperson, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, members of the University Council, policymakers, development partners, members of the academic community, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege for us to participate in this gathering at the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference of the University of Ghana. For nearly 8 years, this forum has provided a vital space for national reflection, bringing together ideas, evidence, and experience to interrogate the choices that shape Ghana's development path. Let me commend the university for sustaining this invaluable tradition. To this year's theme, Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development, it is timely and it is instructive. It reminds us that development is the product of deliberate choices, sound institutions, and shared responsibility. Above all, it reinforces a fundamental truth that the Ghana we want cannot be built by government alone. It requires collaboration across policymakers, academia, the private sector, civil society, and citizens. And that is why we are pleased to participate in the program. One particular perspective I would have shared from the standpoint of monetary policy is to point out the fact that it is not an end in itself, but as an enabler of the broader national objectives this conference seeks to advance. In other words, the stability we have enjoyed last year is not an end in itself. It is an enabler of what is to come in this year. But to one particular theme I want to move to, given I have only 3 minutes, I believe I have just 1 more minute to go, is a very, very interesting issue that has come up in recent times, which we consider a national priority. Talking about the Gold Board and the Domestic Gold Purchase Program. His Excellency, permit me to say a few words on these. I want to address this issue, which has featured prominently in recent national discourse. The conversation matters not because it is controversial, but because it speaks directly to how Ghana manages strategic national priorities at moments of stress and transition. The Gold Board is no longer a concept, it is operational. It is embedded within our macroeconomic framework and has reshaped how Ghana captures value from its gold resources while strengthening external buffers. The relevant question is therefore not whether Gold Board should exist, but how it should be governed, how it should be refined, how it should be sustained, and to do so in the national interest. As you will remember, the Domestic Gold Purchase Program was introduced at a moment of acute vulnerability, and this was when foreign exchange buffers became thin and confidence was fragile. Its purpose was clear, and this was to strengthen reserves, stabilize the currency, and create space for macroeconomic recovery by leveraging Ghana's own natural endowment. So, judged against this stabilization objective, the program has played a vital role. It is also important to be candid that this stability came at a cost. Since the setup of the DGPP, which composed of the G4O, the G4 Forex, or the G4R, the Bank of Ghana has had to carry the financial burden of such a national strategic policy, one that sought to restore confidence and protect the wider economy. Indeed, that was a deliberate choice taken in the national interest. However, national priorities do not stand still, and neither should policies that support them. Hence, several measures were taken during last year, in 2025, to refine the DGPP. And I can tell you a number of these. The G4O was cancelled, while aspects of the G4R was refined. Governance, transparency, and risk management were strengthened, particularly within the artisanal and small-scale gold trading segment. Settlement risks were reduced through payment before release requirements and ring-fencing of offtake proceeds. Pricing structures were improved through reductions in discounts, agent fees, and assay charges. Arguably, the institutional role of Gold Board has strengthened coordination across the value chain, while the introduction of a gold FX auction mechanism has enabled more structured and transparent intermediation of gold-related foreign exchange flows. So looking ahead in 2026, Your Excellency, the G4R program must be anchored more firmly within the broader Government of Ghana framework as a national priority. And responsibility will be shared in such a way that sustainability does not rest on any single institution. We encourage informed debates, we encourage evidence-based analysis, and we encourage diverse perspectives on such critical programs such as the DGPP. And in that spirit, the Bank of Ghana, working with the Gold Board and the Ministry of Finance, we intend to convene a focused policy workshop with experts, with market practitioners, and policymakers to examine how this national priority can be refined further in line with best practices elsewhere. So to conclude, let me thank you again for this invitation. Indeed, the history of the New Year School, it reminds us that development is achieved through sustained effort, through sound institutions, and through collective responsibility. If the past year, 2025, was about restoring confidence in the economy, then the year ahead, 2026, must be about putting that confidence to work carefully, productively, and with judgment in service of a more resilient, inclusive, and competitive Ghanaian economy. I look forward to the insights that will emerge from this conference and to continued engagement as we collectively build the Ghana we want. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Doc, for sticking by the time. We are very, very grateful. Madam Vice Chancellor, the President himself is here. The Governor of Bank of Ghana is here also. I believe you are ready with your sacks to collect all the funds that they came with. We move on with the statements by our partners, and at this time, it's my singular honor to invite Mr. Godwin Eduji Kujo Tamaklo, CEO of National Petroleum Authority.
Good morning and a Happy New Year. His Excellency, Mr. President, Council members, our esteemed able Vice Chancellor, Council Chair, my own big sister. I want to use this opportunity, one, to thank the University of Ghana for the opportunity to partner them for this year's New Year school. 77 years of consistency. It takes a lot of grace and weight to keep that. I may want to recommend the New Year school to our friends in the Kumasi Legon and the University of Constant Confusion to maybe look at organizing something on 31st December, maybe to end the year well. But that said, the Great Hall always reminds me of quite interesting days. In 2003, when I joined the University of Ghana, anytime they mention Great Hall, you know you are coming for exams. And usually the lecturers and the invigilators will be here looking at us with no opportunity to look anywhere. At least today I have the benefits of looking everywhere, and I thank the University of Ghana for that. I must say, from my undergraduates, I came back to this same university for my LLB studies. I came back to this university for my master's. So I'm a full-blooded University of Ghana student, and I thank this university for that. The annual New Year School has always been a momentous platform for statesmen, intellectuals, captains of industry, religious leaders, to discuss national issues, proffer policy solutions to bring about the needed change and development in the country. The consistency of the organization of this great event is so remarkable, and I commend the organizers for this. The theme for this year's event, Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development, is so befitting for the moment, considering the progress that this country is currently enjoying and witnessing over the last 1 year since the assumption of office of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. The reset agenda is in motion, and it behoves on all in public and private organizations to play their roles in contributing to the building of Ghana. We want to ensure sustainable development. It is therefore gratifying that the premier university, the University of Ghana, has aligned the theme of this year's New Year School to the reset agenda. NPA's contribution to sustainable development. On our part, at the National Petroleum Authority, We envision a downstream petroleum sector that is innovative, efficient, and sustainable, in line with HE, the President's vision to reset and transform the sector. In that vein, since assuming office as the Chief Executive Officer, I've emphasized the importance of affordability, quality, reliability in the supply of petroleum products to Ghanaians. Our avowed commitment is to ensure fair pricing and strict adherence to industry standards. Ladies and gentlemen, a sustainable economy is powered by sustainable energy sector. In this regard, I have constituted a steering committee for the 24-hour economy initiative in the petroleum downstream sector, so that we can roll out a plan that ensures that the downstream sector operates 24/7 in line with the vision of the President. The steering committee is to provide oversight, strategic direction, coordination for the implementation of the 24-hour economy program in the downstream. What we are interested in is to ensure more jobs are created and the downstream keeps working. As the chair of the steering committee, I'm leading the process towards both infrastructure issues to ensure efficient implementation of the 24-hour economy in the downstream. In conclusion, I commend the organizers of the New Year School for putting this event that has become the cornerstone of shaping public discourse and policy together. I also congratulate the University of Ghana for the continuous innovation, hard work towards the attainment of excellence. I will end my remarks with the assurance that the MPA will continue to support and collaborate with academia and the business fraternity in general for a smooth prosecution of our national development agenda. Be rest assured that the National Petroleum Authority will continue to ensure regular supply of quality and affordable petroleum products to our country towards a forward march for sustainable national development. It is unusual to see a lawyer's brief in 3 pages. I have managed to keep my brief in only 3 pages. I think I've done well. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Happy New Year.
Yes, indeed, you have done well, Mr. Temaklu, and we are very grateful. Please let's acknowledge him once more. We thank you very much for promising us your continuous support. We are ready to work with you to build the Ghana that we all dream of. Madam Chair, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor again to invite Dr. Tony Orbin Esquire, CEO of Petroleum Hub Corporation, to deliver his remarks. Thank you. Please, let's welcome Mr. Orbin.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, the Chairperson of Council, the Vice Chancellor of this great university, permit me to stand on the existing protocols for the sake of 3 minutes. I can only start by saying how excited and joyous I am to be back here at Legon, which is my alma mater as well. And most importantly, for Commonwealth Hall as a great vandal. I know there are some vandals here. Some big vandals are here, so yes. It is with profound joy and deep sense of honor that I deliver this statement at the 77th Annual New Year's conference. The University of Ghana's New Year's School has for decades provided what every serious country needs. Not only serious universities, but serious countries need. A place where evidence meets policy, where debate meets national purpose, and where citizens across generations renew a shared commitment to progress. The New Year School has long been a beacon of intellectual exchange, guiding Ghana towards progress. This year's theme, Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development, is not just inspiring, it is urgent. It asks the question, what Ghana do we want? How do we build the Ghana we want? I noticed that the theme has 4 sub-themes. And for me, coming from the Petroleum Hub, I have chosen to make my statement around the theme of promoting industrialization, revitalization, support, and transformation. These 4 pillars are not abstract concepts. They are pathways to ensuring that Ghana's current economic recovery becomes a lasting transformation, one that ensures that our 17th IMF program becomes our last, hopefully. Across the world, nations are being tested simultaneously by economic volatility, climate shocks, geopolitical tension, rapid technological change, and rising citizens' expectation. Ghana is not immune to these pressures. But Ghana is also not without strength. We have democratic stability, a young population, abundant resources, and tradition of political leadership and political and intellectual leadership. Your Excellency, this meeting presents a pivotal moment, a moment where we introspect and focus on our country's sustainable development. But as we do so, we must place the economy at the center of our discussions and in context. Not too long ago, the economy of Ghana was at the brink of collapse, and its downward spiral was like the fall of a meteor, and no one could predict the bottom of the trough. Today, under the visionary leadership of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama and the diligent stewardship of his economic management team, we are witnessing not only a revival, but a deliberate reset of this economy. Key economic indicators reflect this progress. GDP growth, which stood at 2.9% in 2023, accelerated to around 5.7% in 2024, and has continued robustly in 2025, driven by agriculture, services, and downstream petroleum activities. Inflation, once a severe burden, has been brought under control, declining significantly from 23% at the end of 2023 to between 6 and 8% late 2025, thanks to the stabilized commodity market and effective policy measures. Employment trends show improvement, with unemployment easing amid expanded opportunities. And for the cedi, we all know what has happened to it. It has been properly arrested. And yet, ladies and gentlemen, while we celebrate these gains, our work is far from done. We have not yet built the Ghana we want. We need to consolidate the gains and build lasting economic strength that is resilient to future shocks, whether it is pandemics such as COVID, God forbid, and God forbid because COVID tax has been removed, so there's no COVID in our mind again. And of course, other global conflicts like Russia-Ukraine war. Interestingly, we've not been hearing that explanation, the Russia-Ukraine war. But as a student of development studies and globally, 3 lessons we can learn. Growth is not the same as transformation. Growth is not the same as transformation. Many countries have posted impressive growth while remaining vulnerable because their economies was not structurally changed. Export remained concentrated, industrial bases remained thin, and jobs did not grow fast enough. So Ghana's economic trajectory demands a fundamental shift, moving beyond reliance on raw commodity export towards value addition, diversification, and industrial sophistication. In Ghana's case, the importance of structural transformation is amplified by demographics. Ghana's population is now over 34 million and remain youthful. Yes, I have 1 minute. Remain youthful. So it's a real call. Economies that import what they could competitively produce remain fragile. Finally, in terms of this lesson, natural resources wealth do not generate and guarantee national prosperity. In fact, it can at times be inimical. And this is the reason why the Petroleum Hub is an extremely important project for Ghana. Petroleum Hub, which is earmarked to be established in Jomoro in the western region, is intended to set refineries, petrochemical plants, and tank farms in the area. After serious research into that, the potentials are huge, and we are told that we are able to boost our economy if it's fully on stream by about 70%. So our GDP will be boosted by about 70%. Employment, if it goes to its full throttle, is likely to create about 700 plus employment. So it is an opportunity for us to focus and give all the attention that the state needs. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Albin. You could see that Dr. Albin requested for more papers from the examiner. We thank you very much. Please let's acknowledge him. We thank you for all the good ideas you are bringing to support our partnership. I now invite Dr. George Ajekum Donko, President of ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, to deliver his remarks. Please, let's acknowledge him as he comes.
Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stand on the established protocols for the sake of time. We are very grateful to the organizers and the university authorities for inviting the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development to this very important program. And this is the first time that we have been invited to this program. It means that this program has assumed the international standard because it goes beyond the borders of Ghana. Thank you very much once again. Excellency, you agree with me that the problems that Ghana faces are the same problems that the 15 West African countries, known as ECOWAS countries, face. All of them the same problem. And for that reason, Your Excellency, your vision of building the Ghana that we want is very, very critical and very, very timely. What are some of the challenges that we have identified as the regional financial institution? For the avoidance of doubt, the ECOWAS Bank is the regional financial institution owned by the 15 ECOWAS member countries. Even though 3 countries have left us, but through the instrumentality of His Excellency and other heads of state, those countries continue to remain members of the bank. Recurring economic vulnerabilities, governance structures, that's weak governance structures, social inequalities, massive infrastructure gaps, and a lack of clear strategy to tackle the climate change menace. These are challenges that permeate through all the member countries of ECOWAS from where I sit. Now, the Ghana we want, which the President has consistently highlighted, What are we talking about if you say the Ghana we want? Your Excellency, permit me to just share a few ideas with you. The Ghana we want is in which every Ghanaian will be happy to call it a home. The Ghana we want is which is a well-structured society where everything works and there is respect for the rule of law. Number 3, the Ghana we want is marked by transparency and accountability devoid of favoritism. The Ghana we want is characterized by safety and security at home and on the streets. The Ghana we want in which education and skills training are informed by industry and socially relevant things. The Ghana we want is where there are equal opportunities for all, underlined by meritocracy in the access to education and jobs. The Ghana we want is in which citizens have decent jobs and are able to fend for themselves and their families. The Ghana we want is where there is access to quality healthcare for all. And finally, the Ghana we want is in which the roads are paved, there is consistent electricity supply and access to potable water for all. Now, talking about this, what are the building blocks towards this achievement or this Ghana we want? What are the building blocks? 1, we should build a knowledgeable and vibrant society that provides solutions to everyday challenges. Number 2, we should build strong, adequately funded institutions to enforce our laws. We should create an enabling environment for entrepreneurship and innovation by locals and improve the chances of survival of new businesses. Number 4, we should build enabling infrastructure. I'm talking about electricity, transportation, and digital systems. And number 5, prioritize sustainability objectives in the pursuit of national goals. Your Excellency, in pursuit of these objectives, I would like to assure you that the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, which is your bank, is committed to supporting your developmental agenda in all the areas that I've mentioned. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in an era characterized by rapid technological disruptions, evolving trade corridors, and urgent imperative for sustainable development, our collective action is very critical than ever. I wish you a very fruitful celebration, and I hope that together we'll build the Ghana that we want for the betterment of our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajekum Donko. Let's please give him another round of applause. Time didn't permit me to go through their profiles, but you find their profiles in the comprehensive brochure that we have for this program. At this point, I would like to acknowledge a few more groups that are here. I mentioned the Tallinn University, but we also have delegates from the University of Thessaly in Greece. Please, can you give us a wave? University of Thessaly. And also, we have delegates from the University of Thessaloniki, also from Greece. And we have guests from the Bahamas. Please, can we see you? Bahamas. Delegates from, okay. Thank you very much. We will take the second musical interlude from the Ghana Dance Ensemble at this point. Please let's acknowledge them as they come. Thank you very much, Ghana Dance and Sam, residents at the Institute of African Studies of the University of Ghana. The dance they just performed is called the Jera dance. Jera dance. I could see the Minister for Education tapping his feet, and I also tapped mine along. It's a dance discovered by a hunter who chanced on mystic beings moving in secret ways to achieve their aim, and he came back to the community to share the knowledge, and he's telling us to share knowledge from the annual New Year School. Thank you very much, Ghana Dance and Sound. It's time to listen to our keynote address, and I'll give a profile of our keynote speaker in brief. We have his comprehensive profile, or even an abridged profile of him in the detailed brochure. So our keynote speaker is Mr. Ishmael Ivan Yamson, who is an accomplished, well-known corporate executive and a governance expert in Ghana. He joined UAC of Ghana Limited, later Unilever Ghana Limited in 1996, when I believe most of us here were not born. And he obtained a BSc Economics degree from the University of Ghana. He worked for the company for 38 years in various capacities, the last 18 years of which he was the Chief Executive Officer and Chairman. Please, as I said, you'll find an abridged profile of him in the comprehensive brochure. Please join me now to welcome Mr. Ishmael Yamson.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, the Chairman of Council, the Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellors, the faculty members who are here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here again, and I say again because in 2017 I was standing here talking about Ghana Beyond Aid. So this is the third time I'm having this privilege, and I'm very grateful to the organizers for this singular honor. I told my people that it's a very difficult job because on all the three occasions, the sitting presidents were here and I had to review their campaign promise. And today, I've been asked to do just the same. But I've never been a political commentator. But as you know me all, a plain, blunt man. For I have neither wit, nor worth, action, nor utterance, nor the power of speech to stir men's blood. I only speak right on. Hence, I don't make political judgments. I only make economic judgments out of political behavior and actions. As a corporate person, I try and see economic, social, and business implications in every political development. And that is what informs my judgment, not the politics. And so today I'll do the same. I'll share my views on the theme of the conference, Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development. It is a beautiful theme. It is evocative. It speaks of unity, of aspiration, and of a future that endures. That is why I share in this dream, and I will support it in any way possible. But Honorable Chairperson, themes alone don't build nations. Rhetoric does not feed the hungry. Slogans do not employ the youth. and beautiful vision statements, if not backed by the iron will of execution and the discipline of character, become nothing more than epitaphs of potential that was never realized. And sadly, our history is replete with many such beautiful vision statements. Today, the data and the headlines tell us we are recovering very strongly, and it is true. Inflation is trending down from the dizzying heights of 54%, and I just checked the data as at 31st December 2024 to 6.3% as at 31st December 2025. And you can see the same thing indeed. The CD at the close of 2024 was 15.11. At the close of 2025, it was 10.65. So we must give credit to the government. Mr. President, your government has done spectacularly well. Your first year has been simply spectacular. But let us not be overtaken by the joys of what we see. What we are seeing is stabilization. We are not at the transformation stage yet. Feeling the pulse of the streets and listening to the quiet anxieties of the boardroom, I must tell the truth. We are not just at a challenging moment, we are at a definitive crossroads of our national existence. We have stopped the bleeding, yes, but we have not healed the wound. We have managed the crisis, but we have not cured the disease. To truly build the Ghana we want, we do not need a policy tweak. We do not need the same mindset, behaviors, and values that brought us to where we are today. And surely, we do not need another borrowing spree. What we need is a fundamental, structural, cultural, and economic reset. So the first question we must therefore answer with brutal honesty is why? Why is the status quo no longer tenable? And why did the president and the ruling party choose such a strong, emphatic word as reset? To answer that, we must look at the key dimensions of our current reality, i.e. the national malaise, the structural trap, and the crisis of values, largely driven by our political architecture. Honorable Chairperson, if you walk the streets of Accra, sit in the markets of KJT or speak at the share farmers in northern Savannah, you will find a consensus of discontent. It is not a loud, riotous anger. It is something more dangerous. It is a quiet, pervasive weariness. I describe it as the agony of unpredictability. In a functioning economy, a business owner can plan to build a major factory because he trusts that the fundamentals of the economy will hold long term. A family can plan for a mortgage because it has a reliable, decent, well-paying job. In Ghana, citizens and business struggle to plan for 6 months. The volatility of our macroeconomic environment in the past means the price of basic food items, building materials, or fuel shifts like the wind. Sadly, even as I speak today, businesses do not have great confidence in the medium to long-term sustainability of our current macroeconomic stability, despite the commendable and impressive achievements of the last 12 months. This loss of trust and uncertainty are the enemies of investment. The Ghanaian middle class, the engine of any democracy, has been hollowed out by an inflation tax that has eaten away their savings and dignity. No country can build a sustainable, vibrant economy in a constantly disruptive and uncertain environment. And then the culture of impunity. Madam Chairperson, we want with horror as our pristine river bodies, the Pra, the Ankobra, the Birim, the Ofin, and many others, are turned into toxic mud by illegal mining. With this destruction, we see this destruction happening in broad daylight, often with the complicity of those who want to protect us. When a nation poisons its own water to feed the greed of a few, it is not just an environmental crisis, it is a spiritual collapse. Additionally, Ghanaians watch helplessly every day as their leaders plunder the resources meant to develop their medical, educational, water, roads, bridges, and other economic and social infrastructure, while the few public office holders acquire huge and numerous assets and live offensive, ostentatious lives. Besides, we have created a society where who you know has become infinitely more important than what you know. We have replaced merit with patronage. When a young graduate with a first-class degree feels that their hard work is worthless without the protocol connection to get a job in the public service, we are telling our youth that excellence no longer pays and that they are better off in betting cafes or planning cyber crimes. Honorable Chairperson, after 67 years of independence, it is a scar on our national conscience that we cannot guarantee consistent power and water to our industries and citizens. I sit on boards where we have spent millions of dollars on backup generators. This is money that could have been used to expand factories and hire workers. With an infrastructure investment gap estimated by the World Bank at $4 billion per annum, you can appreciate the acute depravity of the state of our infrastructure. But perhaps the most painful loss of all is the erosion of our national pride and hope. There was a time when the Black Star was a beacon of African excellence. To say then that I am a Ghanaian was to wear a badge of honor. Today, that pride has been replaced by cynicism. When our youth's primary ambition is to emigrate to Japan, it is not just an economic decision. It is a vote of no confidence in their motherland. We dislike watching our national identity fade away, the hope that fueled our independence struggles to survive. But we must also look outward. The world we live in today is not the world of the 90s or even of the early 2000s. We are facing a global political crisis. Geopolitical fragmentation, deglobalization, supply chain disruptions, and climate change. Disruptions and uncertainties are growing everywhere. This means the old strategy of relying on external benevolence of cheap commercial debt is dead. Ghana and every country is on its own. If we do not generate our own capital, and if we do not actively pursue partnership with the private sector and our fellow African countries, as in the Africa Free Continental Trade Area, we will limit the speed of our economic transformation. The risk set is that a geopolitical necessity, but we are not focusing strategically on these very evolving disruptions. The second dimension is our stubborn refusal to change our economic structure, which has been called the Georgesburg economy. Let us be honest. Structurally, the Ghanaian economy in 2025 was not significantly different from the Gold Coast economy of 1925. We dig gold and export it. We drill oil and export it. We harvest cocoa and export the beans. Then we turn around and import the jewelry, the petrol, and the chocolate. We import toothpicks. We import tomatoes. Today, Ghana is one country in sub-Saharan Africa that depends most on food imports to feed its citizens. We have become price takers, not price makers. And as long as this structure remains, our exchange rate will always be a hostage to global markets. Today, gold and cocoa prices are skyrocketing, and we are reaping the benefits. But we must be careful to use the windfall to build a transformed economy. The research demands that we process what we produce. The Made in Ghana brand must transform from a patriotic slogan to a mark of world-class quality products and services, as well as export competitiveness. Madam Chairperson, every government since independence has been accused of economic mismanagement on leaving office. And inshallah, this one will not be the same. We have never been able to prudently manage our economy over a long-term period and avoid the recklessness we have repeatedly seen since independence, for which reason the country has sought IMF bailout 17 times. Economic mismanagement breeds uncertainties. Indeed, what we saw in the last 4 years prior to 2025 can only be described as chaotic, because chaos is where you don't know the rules anymore. A situation where every 2 to 3 years we build the economy, create confidence, and then take 1 to 2 years to destroy whatever has been created, and then start all over again, is only a recipe for perpetual poverty. Ghana needs a minimum of 10 years of consistent, solid, good, resilient economic performance to demonstrate a sustainable, prosperous economy worthy of investors' trust and confidence. Madam Chairperson, the combination of the structural weakness and political short-termism has regrettably birthed a profound crisis of investor confidence. Capital is a coward. It goes where it is safe and stays where it is treated well. Today, we face a loss of trust, not just from foreign investment, but critically from our own domestic business people as well. When a government changes policies overnight, introduces legislation that fundamentally change the business operating environment, or fails to honor contractual obligations, it signals that Ghana is not a serious jurisdiction for long-term capital. We have traded our reputation of stability for short-term fiscal survival. Finally, the crisis of values and our political architecture. This, for me, is the deepest systemic cause of Ghana's failure to meet the aspirations of its people. The 1992 Constitution has served us well in maintaining stability, but it has also created a political architecture which has become toxic and self-destructive. Some have even argued that it has inadvertently created an executive presidency that is almost monarchical in its power, and that it makes it possible for presidents to make all leadership appointments in the public service. But to me, that is not the issue. It is so in all democracies, and it happens in the private sector. But what is troublesome in our case is the doubtful process which undermines the quality and appropriateness of the appointments. The recommendations for the appointments are managed by party executives and are therefore driven largely by party considerations. And therein lies the risk of sacrificing meritocracy for nepotism, cronyism, and clientelism, often leading to kleptocracy, which weakens checks and balances. A reset requires that the constitutional review decouples the dominance of the executives over other institutions of government, the civil service, and the public sector. We need strong institutions, not just strong men, as Barack Obama reminded us some time ago. Probably even more worrying is that since the inception of the Fourth Republic in 1992, the role of money in Ghanaian politics has grown exponentially. Studies have estimated the cost of running for parliament at hundreds of thousands of dollars, and a shot at the presidency at the tens of millions. The high cost of politics has therefore led to the upsurge of dirty money within campaign funding and the election of many not fit for purpose leaders. This politicization thus undermines democracy by promoting unfit leaders, corruption, and reducing the role of honesty and integrity in politics and the management of the economy. And as I reflect on the crisis of values, I'm reminded of a fundamental truth that I have always shared, that being independent is great. Being independent with a purposeless leadership is dangerous. But being independent with purposeless and corrupt leadership is fatal. It is this fatality that has faced Ghana in the last many years. And that is why Ghana needs to be reset, so we can build a prosperous country we all want and can be proud of. So what's the alternative? When we say we want to build the Ghana we want, what does it mean? We want a prosperous nation that provides opportunities for all its citizens. A nation where hard work pays and where a young graduate can envision a dignified future. Not in the queuing lines of foreign embassies seeking a visa to ocean floors to clean floors in Europe. We want a country where citizens and foreign companies can see opportunities and are able to invest long term to create jobs. And a country where an ordinary Ghanaian citizen can have confidence and hope in his own or her own future. We want a nation of order where the law works for everyone, not just the rich and the connected. A country where impunity is an oddity and where corruption is severely punished irrespective of who is involved. We want a nation of sovereignty where our budget is funded by our own taxes and production, not by the benevolence of donors or the strictures of the IMF. A country that defines its own development agenda, not dictated by external institutions such as the UN 10 Commandments captured in the Sustainable Development Goals. So how and what must be done to reset Ghana? If we agree that the current path leads to a precipice and we agree on the destination, then the urgent question is how? How do we execute the reset? To reset Ghana will require decisive, simultaneous action on 5 strategic fronts. This is not a menu from which we can pick and choose. It's an integrated architecture for survival. First, we should refocus leadership purpose and culture. We must shift our leadership culture from one of entitlement to one of service. Throughout my career, I've come to the reality that businesses and countries succeed and thrive depending on its own leadership, almost always led by one individual with a clear purpose to build. Whether you talk about Malaysia or Singapore or Dubai or Rwanda, Vietnam or South Korea or other such successful countries, the story is the same. So having the right leadership is non-negotiable if Ghana must be reset for sustainable development. To underpin good leadership, we need an enforceable code of conduct. And Your Excellency, I must thank you and recommend you for the recent publication of the Code of Conduct for Public Office Holders. But we all know that publishing a Code of Conduct is one thing, Holding people accountable is another. The optics of leadership matter. So we need leadership that upholds personal accountability. We must also redefine our governance architecture and culture. Our current governance structure is still too heavy, overly expensive, ineffective, and inefficient, even after the drastic reduction in the number of ministers and deputy ministers. The heavy and burdensome bureaucracy we have created only promotes perverse incentives for pervasive corruption. Yet we all know that corruption destroys countries and businesses. So we must confront it as a crime. Gradually, the solution is the digital antidote, which is within our grasp. We must aggressively digitize all high discretion public services. If we fully automate the ports, we remove the customs officer's discretion to extort. If we digitize the land registry on a blockchain, we stop the multiple sales of land that choke investment. If we automate the procurement process, we shine a light on the dark corners where contracts are inflated. We will thereby succeed in eliminating the human interface where bribery and corruption thrive. Honorable Chairperson, we must face a hard truth. We cannot borrow our way to prosperity, and no country has ever succeeded doing that. The cycle of boom, bust, and IMF bailout must end with our generation. And we can only succeed if we commit to sustain disciplined fiscal and monetary policies over the medium to long term. And we have already seen signs of that. We need to institutionalize fiscal restraint. We cannot rely on the goodwill of politicians to spend wisely. We must legislate a strict statutory debt ceiling and enforce it. And repeat, enforce it. We must also end the cycle of election year profligacy, where every 4 years we burn our fiscal buffers to buy votes through unbudgeted projects. This is economic suicide. As a research requires an independent fiscal council with biting powers, not just advisory powers, to check government spending before it spirals. On the monetary policy side, the Bank of Ghana governor is already here, so I better be careful. The Bank of Ghana has a difficult job, but we must balance inflation targeting with growth. We cannot build industries with interest rates that we saw in the past, hovering around 30 to 35%. It is mathematically impossible for a legitimate company to compete when the cost of money is that high. And that is why we must even strive stronger to bring down further the current relatively lower interest rate levels achieved over the last 12 months, for which the Bank of Ghana must be commended. We need a financial architecture that provides reasonably priced, long-term, patient capital to the productive sectors. Now, Madam Chairperson, we need to create a future-fit fourth industrial revolution economy that is inclusive. Honorable Chairperson, the world is not waiting for Ghana. The global economy is shifting to artificial intelligence, robotics, green energy, and big data. Hence, we need to create a future-fit industrial revolution economy. Yet, we are currently churning out thousands of graduates from high schools, colleges, and universities who are essentially unemployable because their skills do not match the market. We are training the students for the economy of the 1980s, not 2030. There is therefore an urgent need to bridge the gap between academia and industry. University curricula should not be written in isolation by professors. They must be co-created with industry bodies. And we must execute a massive pivot to technical and vocational education and training. The development of this country will not be built by lawyers, by sociologists, and political scientists alone. It will be built by welders, mechatronics engineers, agronomists, and tool makers. and this mindset must be reset. A skilled technician in a reset Ghana should command as much respect and pay as a bank manager. Finally, the government must understand its role. Government has no business being in commercial businesses where the private sector is better able to manage more professionally to create value. I didn't say government has no business in business. I said government has no business in commercial business. Côte d'Ivoire does not have a cocoa marketing board. What it has is a regulatory body that manages, regulates, and stabilizes the cocoa and coffee sectors. Yet it produces 2 million and more tons of cocoa with no indebtedness to the state. Ghana has had a cocoa marketing board for years, and yet we are currently struggling to produce 500 tons of cocoa with mountains of debt undermining fiscal stability. And it is the same story with ECG and many SOEs. So there are lessons we can learn from our neighbor and other countries of the world. Furthermore, the state must stop competing with the private sector for capital. When the government borrows heavily from the domestic market, it crowds out the private sector, driving up interest rates. Instead, the state must focus on de-risking investment, using the government balance sheet to guarantee critical infrastructure, to create land banks, and to ensure stable utility supplies. So what should citizens expect to see in a reset Ghana? Number one, we should expect transformational leadership. Leadership with values that build, not destroy. Leadership with clear purpose to transform the country, not just to hold power. Leadership committed to transparency, accountability, integrity, and ethical behavior. Leadership with conscience that confronts corruption, greed, and impunity without fear or favor. And leadership that leads by example. Where leaders live the sacrifices they preach. We also expect predictability. A reset Ghana must provide predictability, where a mother can budget for her family's food, and a CEO can budget for a factory expansion without fear of a currency collapse next week, next month, or next year. We must expect efficiency from our bureaucracy. Ghanaian businesses and ordinary citizens must expect to be served with dignity and speed in a 24-hour economy by a passport officer, at a port, or by a tax authority, but even more crucially, without paying a bribe or needing a connection to a big man. Public service must become exactly what it means, service to the public without conditions. Citizens also expect quality jobs from a reset Ghana. A reset Ghana must provide decent, well-paying, quality jobs. We should not be talking about hawking on the streets as jobs. We should be talking about formal employment in factories, technology hubs, and agro-processing centers. Jobs that come with social security, a pension, and dignity. And lastly, we expect a reset Ghana where there's respect for the rule of law. In our new Ghana, citizens, including corporate citizens, must have confidence that if you are wrong, the system will protect you, regardless of your political affiliation, your tribe, or your social status, or the origin of your investment. The law must be blind to power. So are we on track 1 year after we launched the reset agenda? We must be honest in our assessment of where we stand today. If we look at the last 12 months, the verdict is nuanced. We have achieved great things. We have achieved macro stability. We have stabilized the economy, but we are yet to achieve transformation. So the good side, the IMF program was a necessary medicine. Inflation has dipped from its dizzying heights. The currency has found stability, and we must commend both the Minister of Finance, the Bank of Ghana, and the government for stepping back from the brink of total collapse. But are we on track for the deep reset I have described? If we have made impressive progress at the macro level, yes, we have. But overall, especially at the micro level, the answer is no, not yet. The structural drivers of our crisis remain intact. Our disruptive political architecture appears deep-rooted. Corruption is still untamed. Our import dependence is still dangerously high. Our debt overhang, including the energy sector debt, still threatens to suffocate our fiscal space, and the cost of doing business remains prohibitive for the private sector. We have stabilized the patient, yes, but the patient is still in the ICU. The surgery required to fix the underlying condition has not yet begun. We are celebrating the fact that we are no longer dying. Instead, we have to commit to planning for how we will live long and for a very long time. As we look to the future, two paths lie before us. The path of least resistance and the path of the painful job of resetting the economy and building the Ghana we want for sustainable development. So what can cause the reset agenda to fail? The first is complacency. They believe that because the immediate panic has faded, we can go back to business as usual. We have a bad habit of forgetting our pain the moment the painkiller kicks in. If we mistake this stabilization for success, we will be back at the IMF within 4 years. We have been there before. We have celebrated turnarounds before, only to find ourselves back in the doldrums because the broken structural foundations remain intact. And our election cycle. This is the greatest and most immediate danger. We are entering an election season, and very soon. The history of Ghana's Fourth Republic teaches us that in election years, fiscal discipline is often sacrificed on the altar of political expediency. The temptation, yes, I know, okay. The temptation is often sacrificed on the altar of political expediency. As I conclude, I want you to cast your minds forward. Imagine it is year 2057, Ghana's centenary, 100 years of independence. When the history of that centenary is written, what will it say about our generation? Will it say that when we stood at the crossroads in 2025, we chose the easy path, that we chose to borrow and consume, that we left our children with a mountain of debt and a broken environment? Or it will say that we found the courage to reset the country, that we were the generation that finally broke the colonial structure of our economy, that we were the generation that ended the culture of impunity, that we were the generation that built a Ghana of order, that we were the generation that rejected corruption as a way of life. If we achieve this, then Ghana will succeed, and the future generations will honor our legacy. We have no choice. I thank you.
He deserves a standing ovation. Please let's rise to acknowledge and give him a round of applause. Continue with the applause, please. Please resume your seats. Thank you very much for this very thorough keynote address. We are grateful for giving us the state of our currency as well as leadership categories that should help us to get to where we want to be. We believe that this address will underpin discussions at the plenary sessions of the conference. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to the climax of the program. Due to time constraints, we'll skip the third performance by the Ghana Dance Ensemble. At this point, I will invite Dr. Jack Doche to make a very special announcement, and he will be accompanied by the Dean of the School of Continuing and Distance Education, Professor Olivia Kwapong. Thank you very much. Please let's welcome them to the program.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic, President John Dramani Mahama, the Chair of Council, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, I stand on behalf of the Provost of the College of Education, the Dean of the School of Continuing and Distance Education, and the Chairperson for the Annual New Year School Planning Committee to extend our sincere gratitude to all our partners and supporters that assist us in ensuring we host a successful Annual New Year School. But for this year, we have a very distinguished personality who had been our greatest supporter on this journey. Chair of Council, it's my greatest pleasure to announce to us that His Excellency, the President of the Republic, has donated an amount of 100,000 Ghana cedis to support the Annual New Year School. We also want to put on record the support that we have received from all our other partners. Your Excellency, we are very grateful and we will be coming for more support. Thank you.
Thank you very much for disclosing this very juicy news this afternoon. Please let's give them a round of applause and also clap to thank our President for giving us such a very big gift. Dr. Doche is the Executive Director of the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference. As I mentioned earlier, we are now at the climax of our program, and we have a distinguished personality to open the school for us. To introduce our distinguished personality, I invite the Honorable Minister for Education, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, to do this.
Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana and Commander-in-Chief, your very able Chair of Council and Chair for today's ceremony, Maretta Brew, Legal Advisor to the President, Professor Vice Chancellor, our keynote speaker, Uncle Ishmael Yamson. You know, when you are invited this day, I see colleague ministers, local government, lands and forestry, representative, Deputy Minister of Finance, Deputy Energy, Governor Bank of Ghana supported by the two deputies, Chief Executive GMPC, Chief Executive Lotto Authority, Chief Executive Free Zones Board, Chief Executive MPA, members of academia, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My task is a solemn one, simple too, especially when you are asked to introduce the President after that lucid keynote address by Ishmael Yamson. Mr. President, for Ishmael Yamson, we are proud to have him. He is in a rare category of breed of Ghanaians who simply love their country and want the good of their country. So for me, Uncle Ishmael, you've made my work very easy. I should have said that I have the rare privilege and opportunity to introduce to this gathering the president and leader of our country who would lead with conscience and will lead with humility and will lead with purpose. Those were the values you highlighted in your speech. President Mahama fairly and fittingly falls into the category of that leadership that Ghana needs. Mr. President, when I saw the team building the Ghana we want, I took away the words "together for sustainable development." And for once, I thought, Professor Vice Chancellor, you and your team had followed President Mahama around the country between 2023 and 2027, when he embarked on his "I shall return" journey with the same words, building the Ghana we want. So, Madam Vice Chancellor, probably by coincidence, I'm sure today you wanted to do an examination and evaluation of the 1 year of President John Dramani Mahama building the Ghana we want, so that you can do an intellectual depth analysis of his presidency in the 1 year. Uncle Ishmael attempted. At least President Mahama is resetting Ghana. And for those of us in this room who know him and who went around with him in the country, I still recall in Cherpune when we arrived following a bad road and the chief and his elders wanted to speak. Those of us with not his kind of patience wanted to stop one of the guests from speaking. The president stopped us and said, "Allow him, I want to listen to him." And he wanted to listen to the concern in Cherpone, which was about a poor, porous, and motorable road and the lack of access to quality drinking water. So to this guest, you have a listening president who, even in coining the building the Ghana we want, wanted it to be owned by Ghana and by Ghanaians. That is why prior to the launch of the manifesto, he went the length and breadth of this country to hear from Ghanaians what kind of Ghana you wanted him to lead and to build. A prosperous Ghana where its opportunities are shared. President Mahama will provide that leadership. A Ghana governed by rule of law, where the law governs, not a banana republic, a republic governed by law, strict religiously by law. We are a proud democracy led ably by President John Dramani Mahama. And then to the naysayers, before I introduce him, Vice Chancellor, some good news for you. President Mahama has instructed me to instruct the GET Fund to make an allocation of 200 million Ghana cedis in the 2027 formula, not 26. 2027 formula of the GET Fund, 200 million Ghana cedis for the completion of the Digital Youth Project. The Vice Chancellor wanted me to say 2026, and I reminded her that the President governs with law. The GET Fund Board have already gone to their board meeting and approved the formula for 2026. So advisedly, the President said into 2027, that will be done. So before I finally invite the President, those of you also in the wilderness of governance research, and Uncle Ishmael, President Mahama have accepted your challenge. His next focus, 2026 beyond, will be to lead this country through appropriate
administrative, legal, and constitutional reforms that he would lead and that he would provide into 2027 to build the resilient and strong public institutions you advocated for. Then, Mr. President, on a lighter note, I'm myself a product of the University of Ghana. So when the Vice Chancellor and Chair of Council ushered you into a procession, for once, Mr. President, I wanted to sing, but I wasn't sure whether as a Vanda you joined me in singing. You joined me in singing. In your days in the university, anytime we had exams, because of the apprehension of exams, the Vandals will walk around this university, particularly to the Great Hall, and sing. So on that note, I have the singular and distinguished honor to introduce to you the President of the Republic of Ghana. I see the dancers wants to usher him in. In 1 minute, I'll yield to you to introduce the President of the Republic, the leader who is governing with conscience, and the leader who is governing with purpose, and the leader who wants to share fairly the opportunities of this country so that every Ghanaian can walk and knock through the gates of prosperity. And every Ghanaian will trust that he means well for our country. He has stabilized the economy, as you heard from our keynote speaker. The cedi depreciation is no longer epileptic, at least it has stabilized. And he would lead Ghana into the world of strong public institutions delivering the public good. He's gone through all the meals, from assemblyman to MP, deputy minister, minister, vice president, acting president, president, and I shall return president of the Republic of Ghana. And he has returned. Permit me, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to have the rare honor to invite President John Dramani Mahama to open the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference.
Thank you. Kindly resume your seats. Thank you. Thank you, my younger brother Haruna, for that kind introduction. Let me acknowledge the Vice Chancellor of the University, Nana Abba Apia Amfo. Acknowledge our keynote speaker, my uncle Ishmael Yamson. Acknowledge our ministers of state, chairman of the University Council, and indeed all the distinguished people who are gathered here today. And so let me proceed on established protocol and welcome all of you to this year's New Year School. It always gives me a sense of nostalgia when I walk through the gates of the University of Ghana, an institution that has contributed greatly in molding me into what I've become. I left secondary school, 6th form, as a young introvert, not very expressive, didn't like to make too many friends, and walked through these gates. And incidentally, I entered here and ended up in Commonwealth Hall by mistake. Our teachers, who were national service persons, always indoctrinated us to choose the halls that they had been in when they were in university. And incidentally, in the University of Ghana, at the time that we were finishing 6th form, most of our national service personnel were from Legon, Mensa Saba, and Ekwafo Hall. And so, as usual, they demonized Commonwealth Hall and said it was a hall of rascals, you know, students who were very misbehaved and all that, and that if you choose Commonwealth Hall, you would become demonized. And so we were required in our university forms to choose our halls of residence in order of preference. And so based on this indoctrination, I chose Legon Hall first, Mensa Saba second, don't clap yet, Ekwafo Hall third, and Commonwealth Hall last. Apparently that year, the university had taken a decision that anybody who chose Commonwealth Hall first will not be given Commonwealth Hall. And all those who chose Commonwealth Hall last will be sent to Commonwealth Hall. So I ended up in Vandal City, a very shy young man. Today, if I can stand before 100,000 people and say whatever I want, is what Commonwealth Hall made me into. It made me an extrovert, it made me expressive. I participated in all the activities of Commonwealth Hall, including ponding people, you know, singing at our Bacchus shrine. And I was put in 835. 836 was my first room, and I shared the room with Bwedwa Ebuafo of Graphic Corporation. And when I came back for my postgraduate, I was put in J40, and I shared my room with my friend Nto Boahem. But like I said, I always feel a sense of nostalgia. I also wrote exams here. We took part in the Mfojo Yinsro demonstrations, always before exams, to boost our courage, you know, to write the exams properly. And so I want to thank those who have come after us, including our current Vice Chancellor, for all they're doing to continue to maintain the reputation of this great institution. I don't want to speak for too long, but let me mention something. I was reading the social media this morning, and Professor Kweku Azar was talking about their experience when they were in university compared to the challenges our current students face. And amongst the things he talked about was the issue of accommodation and how he came, walked to the Porter's Lodge, you know, introduced himself. They checked his name on the list. He was handed his room key, and it was so easy to get accommodation through the period of the course. Today, most of our students have to live outside campus and travel to lectures every day. There have been a few unfortunate incidents where students have either been knocked down by vehicles and have died, or in a few cases been attacked by armed robbers and unfortunately lost their lives. It is preferable that we have as many of our students living on campus or as close to campus as possible. And that's why I was telling the Vice Chancellor a little good news. When I went to Singapore, we signed an agreement for a 10,000 student hostel in the University of Ghana. And this is going to be a prefabricated building. It means that the building will be manufactured somewhere and will come and be assembled on campus. And so the machines for the factory that would manufacture the building and come to assemble it on campus has been shipped from Singapore and is on its way to Accra. The Vice Chancellor of Tech, University of Science and Technology, protested very vehemently. Why 10,000 for Legon alone? Of course, they say, Obia hohoronsio ebananamu. So when the offer was made, I hohored the ensure into my legs and brought it to Legon. So once the factory is assembled, we would look at the Kumasi people to the Kumasi University. And then after that, we'll look at UDS and others. But we've been sitting for a while, so I normally will tell a joke to focus your attention on my speech. It's not too long. But one of the jokes about giving long speeches was this guy who was supposed to give a keynote address. My uncle was mercifully short. This guy was twice or thrice as long as my uncle. And after a while, people started slipping out in the course of his speech. People started slipping out. By the time he came to the end of the speech, after 2 hours plus, there was only one person left. And so when he finished the speech, he went down to thank the person. And so, look, I want to thank you very much for staying to listen to the words of wisdom that I gave. You are the only one left, who appreciated the speech I was reading. And he said, oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't stay because of your speech. I'm supposed to speak after you. And so, having loosened your stress and earned your attention, I will inflict on you the relatively short speech that I brought with me. It is both an honor and a privilege to join you at this 77th annual New Year School and Conference, a national intellectual tradition that for over 7 decades has provided Ghana with a rare space for reflection, evidence-based debate, and policy influence. I commend the School of Continuing and Distance Education of the University of Ghana and all partners for sustaining this invaluable national institution. This gathering opens not merely a new year, but a season of national introspection. It invites us to interrogate where we are, how we got here, and most importantly, where we must go together as a people. And I want to give my highest commendation to my uncle Ishmael Yamson for doing very good justice to this topic. But most important, the longevity and relevance of this conference affirm the enduring role of academia in shaping Ghana's democratic and development journey. The theme, Building the Ghana We Want Together for Sustainable Development, captures both our collective aspirations and our shared responsibility. Ghana stands at a defining crossroads. After nearly 7 decades of independence, the question before us is no longer whether we can govern ourselves, but how well we govern, how equitably we grow, how sustainable our growth is, and how resilient we can build our nation. It is important to note that the Ghana we want cannot be built by any one individual or single administration. It requires partnership, it requires discipline, innovation, and national consensus building. It demands that we move beyond rhetoric to implementation, beyond short-term fixes to long-term solutions, and beyond narrow interest to the national interest. Growth and consolidation must be permanent. We must continuously strengthen state institutions, continuously grow our economy, and consolidate accountable governance. We cannot build the Ghana we want if the progress made under one regime is reversed under another. Our economic development programs must be medium to long term. We cannot build the Ghana we want together if after every regime change, economic development programs are discarded and replaced with entirely new ones. Our progress as a nation must transcend political seasons. And this is why I've decided to make this second mandate, so graciously granted to me by Ghanaians, count. I've pledged, sorry, you can clap if you want. I'll take that again. This is why I've decided to make this second mandate so graciously granted to me by Ghanaians count. I've pledged to raise our economy and governance to a level that no succeeding government can reverse. In a region where democracy is backsliding, we must demonstrate that democracy works and that our people can have faith in their leaders to uphold their interests and create opportunities for national prosperity. I can assure Ghanaians also that we will not relax the current fiscal discipline and efficient management of the economy even in the election year of 2028. Madam Chairperson, I have just 5 short pillars in which I discuss the theme for this occasion. A sustainable Ghana must rest on a productive, diversified, and resilient economy, one that is capable of withstanding shocks while creating opportunity for all. Our development model must decisively move away from excessive dependence on raw material exports towards value addition, industrial production, and knowledge-based enterprise. We will roll out a policy this year that requires value addition to our minerals, to our petroleum and agricultural products before export. It is in this context that my government has placed the 24-hour economy and accelerated export development program at the heart of our reset agenda. This program is not a slogan, it is a structural transformation strategy to extend productivity beyond daylight hours, deepen manufacturing, support logistics and agro-processing, and create millions of decent jobs across the value chain. This can only be achieved in an environment that is conducive to investment. And this is why my administration has moved quickly to implement the urgent reforms that are required to stabilize and grow our economy. We've achieved measurable success, including a stable currency, touted as the best performing in the world for the year 2025, inflation falling from 23.8% at end of 2024 to just above 5% by the end of 2025. Debt falling from above 66% to GDP at the end of 2024 to 45% of GDP at the end of 2025. And foreign reserves rising from $8.9 billion at the end of 2024 to $13.8 billion at the end of 2025. Madam Chairperson, we're investing massively in improving our infrastructure. And this year, we invested more than $13 billion in our Big Push program. In 2026, we have allocated a whopping sum of $30.8 billion for the Big Push program. This will see massive improvements in our road network, in rail, in aviation, in health, in education, in agribusiness, and manufacturing. And one of the iconic projects under our Big Push is going to be the Accra-Kumasi Expressway. And for those who have spoken against this expressway, I wish that they were in the traffic jam over the new year when one single church holding a convention brought the Accra-Kumasi road into gridlock for more than 7 hours. Accra is the biggest city in Ghana and the capital. Kumasi is the next biggest city in Ghana. and the traffic between these two cities. It's a shame that we have a single lane road linking our two major cities. This will be a thing of the past, and I'm looking forward to cutting short early this year for the commencement of construction of the Accra-Kumasi Expressway. Early this year too, I will inaugurate the task force that will begin the demarcation and design of the Green Digital City. This is a city that will straddle three regions: Greater Accra, Eastern and Volta region, and it will move some of the government offices and key institutions out of Accra into a new city. This will help to decongest the capital, Accra. And for those people who miscommunicate and try to twist my words, the new city will not be the capital. The capital will continue to be the seat of government, and it will be the capital of Ghana. But we'll create a new city that will be smart, that will be innovative. There will be no kiosks, no containers, and no beggars on the streets. Madam Chairperson, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're strengthening domestic revenue mobilization, restoring fiscal discipline, rebuilding confidence in the financial sector, and supporting indigenous enterprises to grow. Economic resilience is not achieved through austerity alone, but through production, inclusion, and shared prosperity. As the keynote speaker said, the IMF program, the Extended Credit Facility program with the IMF, has been very successful. We will emerge from the Extended Credit Facility with the IMF towards the middle of this year. And it is my hope that this will be the very last time we will ever go for a bailout from that international monetary institution. It must be the 17th and the last time that Ghana goes for a bailout from the IMF. We'll continue our collaboration with the IMF under Article 4 and other instruments that the IMF have. But it will definitely be the last time we go on our knees to beg for a bailout. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the second pillar is human capital development and as the engine of growth. No nation has ever developed beyond the quality of its people. Human capital development, education, skills, health, and innovation are therefore the foundations of sustainable growth. We must improve learning outcomes at all levels of our educational system, especially at the basic level, in order to equip our children with the critical learning skills needed to prepare them for higher education. Our focus is not only on access, but also on quality and relevance. From early childhood education to TVET, from tertiary institutions to lifelong learning, we are aligning education with the demands of a modern economy, digital, green, and globally competitive. In this regard, I'm pleased to affirm the government's commitment to the Digital Youth Village and the Center for Digital Youth Development, initiatives that are pioneered here at the University of Ghana. And as promised by government, we've already invested some money in this project, and in 2026, government has allocated an additional 70 million Ghana cedis for this program. And of course, the Minister of Education has announced a top-up from the GET Fund of another 200 million Ghana cedis. This project will serve as a national model for 16 digital hubs of excellence that will support the 24-hour economy, digital entrepreneurship, innovation, and academic delivery. Our youth are not a problem to be managed, they are assets to be empowered. Pillar 3 is good governance, accountability, and national discipline. Madam Chairperson, Sustainable development is impossible without public trust in the institutions. Good governance is not an abstract. It concerns how power is exercised, how resources are managed, and how decisions affect ordinary lives. My administration is strengthening anti-corruption institutions, restoring respect for the rule of law, and insisting on value for money in public spending. Accountability must be real and not rhetorical. Transparency must be systemic and not selective. And this is why this year we'll establish an independent value for money office to ensure that every cedi that is spent on behalf of the people of Ghana delivers real value. But governance reform also requires national discipline. A culture where rules are respected, public resources are protected, and civic responsibility is embraced. Development is not delivered solely by government. It is sustained by citizens who believe in the systems and contribute to its success. Leadership must lead the way by example. We publish the code of conduct to guide public officers, ministers, and others in their day-to-day behavior. We will this year pass the Code of Public Officers Bill, which is currently in Parliament. This bill will codify the requirements for accountability by public officers. And so it will no longer be moral suasion, it will be law, and you have to abide by the law. There's a very interesting incident. A friend of mine arrived, a businessman from Dubai, and he was in first class. I won't name the airline. Everybody knows which airline you normally would take if you go to Dubai. He was in first class. And first class, for those of you who have traveled in first class before, it's got 8 cabins. And this person arrived and was the only person in the first class cabin. And I said, "Oh, President, why have you done that?" I said, "Why?" He said he was the only person in the first class cabin. And he asked, why? He asked the stewards, "Why aren't people traveling in your first class?" And the steward said, "The President of Ghana has banned all his ministers and public officers from traveling first class." And so all the ministers and public officers are at the back here in business. And it's true, when he went, several chief executives and others were in business class. So the ban is still effective. And like I said, even if you can afford it, don't travel first class. If you travel, I'll sanction you. Distinguished participants, I received the report of the Constitutional Review Committee recently. And so this month, before the end of this month, we'll inaugurate the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee. When the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee is established, we'll engage with all political parties and stakeholders to assist the CRIC to advance the recommendations that were contained in the Constitutional Review Committee report. The fourth pillar I want to talk about, distinguished participants, is on environmental stewardship and climate resilience. And I think our uncle Ishmael Yamson talked on that very much. We cannot build the Ghana we want while destroying the natural foundations of our future. Environmental degradation from illegal mining to deforestation and pollution poses a direct threat to food security, water systems, livelihood, and public health. Our development path must therefore be climate smart and environmentally responsible. We're implementing sustainable mining practices, protecting forests and water bodies, and investing in renewable energy and strengthening climate adaptation for vulnerable communities. I want to commend the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in the fight against galamsey. It has so entered the fabric of our people that it's not been an easy fight. Communities have mobilized to attack, the task force when they have gone to enforce the ban on illegal mining. And so I'll encourage the task force, the minister, the Environmental Protection Agency, all of those involved in the fight against illegal mining, please don't give up. There are some positive results beginning to show. Recently, during the Christmas, my house was like the Makola market. Every person who knows the family, friends, business people, everybody wanted to come and spend a few minutes wishing us Merry Christmas. And so on 25th, the house was full, outside the cars parked all the way to the main road, and everybody coming to take just a few minutes of our time to wish us Merry Christmas. And so Madam Lodina said, we cannot take this stress, and so pack your bag, I'm taking you out of town. And so we ran away to a place called Crown Forest, where they have some zebras and giraffes. And I was telling Uncle Ishmael Yamson, for the first time in 2 years, I slept at 9 o'clock in the night and woke up at 9 o'clock the next morning. And it was a very peaceful, serene environment. But why I raise it is that when you go to where they have the animals, you cross a stream. And before we crossed the bridge, I asked them, which river is this? They said it was the ANYSC River. And he said, if you had come here 6 months ago, this water was the color of coffee. He says now it's the color of light Milo. And so, and so it's getting better. And so we appreciate the work that NYMOS and the river guards are doing. Apparently, the river guards had operated upstream where the mining was taking place. And so it had changed the color of the water. And so that's why I'm encouraging you to keep up the fight and even strengthen it even more. Development and environmental protection are not exclusive goals. When properly managed, they actually are mutually reinforcing. Pillar 5 is inclusion, cohesion, and shared national purpose. A divided nation cannot sustain development. The Ghana we want to build together must be inclusive, cohesive, and fair, where no region of the country is left behind. No gender is marginalized, and no generation is excluded. We passed the affirmative action law, and I must admit ashamedly that we are behind. We are falling behind the targets of the affirmative action law. We must accept that our female gender is equally as qualified and capable of running public office as the male gender. Next time when we decide to constitute the governing boards of state institutions, we will put a caveat there that says that at least a certain percentage must be women. Because most of the governing boards have institutional representatives. And so when the president appoints those he's expected to appoint, he appoints a certain number of women and men. And then we expect the governing boards to bring their representatives. And you find in almost all cases that they are all men. And so we'll change the format of constituting these governing boards so that the state institutions are compelled to make sure that the right percentage of these governing boards are constituted by women. Inclusivity must be reflected in resource allocation, in infrastructure development, social protection, and leadership opportunities. Progress must be measured not only by GDP growth, but also by reduced inequality, improved social mobility, and improved quality of life. National unity is not uniformity, it is shared purpose and diversity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the role of partnership. This conference reminds us that national development is a collective endeavor. Academia must continue to provide evidence and ideas. The private sector must innovate and invest. Civil society must engage and hold government to account. Traditional and religious institutions must uphold moral values, and the media must inform with integrity and accuracy. The annual New Year School has consistently provided a platform where ideas meet policy and dialogue informs action. I look forward to the communique and recommendations from your deliberations at this year's school, and assure you that they will receive the serious consideration they deserve. As I conclude, the Ghana we want is not an illusion. It is achievable through discipline, hard work, unity, and visionary leadership. The choices we make today will shape the inheritance we leave our children in the future. Let us therefore build with purpose, govern with integrity, and act with courage, knowing that sustainable development is not a destination, but a continuous national commitment. I thank you for your dedication, patriotism, and service to Ghana. And I also note that while I was speaking, nobody went out. Thank you for listening to my speech. I hereby declare the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference duly open. May God bless us all.
Please kindly resume your seats. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. You have really given us a lineup of all the objectives that you have for us to build a better Ghana together. And I know that we stand a chance to really enjoy a better Ghana. We promise to continue to engage so that we all grow the economy that we have. Thank you very much. Please let's acknowledge him once more. Madam Chair, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me 1 minute to acknowledge a few more people here so that the President will know his officials who accompanied him here, as well as the people who are partnering us to reach our goals. We are privileged to have the Deputy Minister for Finance here with us, Honorable Thomas Nyako Ampem. Please, can you give us a wave? I'm told he just left. We are also privileged to have Honorable Richard Jan Mensah, Deputy Minister for Energy and Green Transition. And we have the two Deputy Governors. The first Deputy Governor of Bank of Ghana, Dr. Zachary Mooney, as well as the second Deputy Governor of Bank of Ghana, Mrs. Matilda Asante. Thank you very much for coming. We also have Ms. Nanaya Srebo, District Governor of Rotary International District 9104 Ghana, with us. And we also have UNFPA delegates here with us. Can you give us a wave, please? Thank you very much. We have Dr. Mary Ewusi, CEO of Ghana Free Zones, with us. Thank you very, very much. We acknowledge all of you and we are happy. In fact, we count ourselves lucky that you made time to join us for this ceremony. At this point, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'll invite our chairperson, Madam Marietta J. Webu, to deliver her closing remarks. Please, let's clap for her as she moves to the podium.
Thank you very much. Mr. President,
Vice Chancellor, Ministers, Minister for Education, Governor and CEOs present, I stand on all existing protocol. I think this morning has been a very interesting and informative session. We've all listened to the speeches, and I'm not going to delve into them again. But two things struck me from the keynote speech and then from His Excellency's speech as well. The keynote speaker said, the last year has been spectacular under the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. But he added a caution. He said, the wound is no longer bleeding, but it's not completely healed. And therefore, that means that there's a lot of work to be done. His Excellency has stated in his speech that this second mandate, he intends to make it count, and he's already started that. He says he's going to build a Ghana where succeeding governments cannot reverse the structural changes he's going to make. He's going to raise the bar so high. There'll be equal opportunity, where there'll be an economy that is resilient. We will not go back to the IMF again. And we thank His Excellency for that assurance he's given us. What it means is that as participants, your work is cut out for you. You have to come up with ideas and policies that will assist the government develop structures that will stand the test of time. We've all listened to the speeches, and you know where we want to be. To our partners, we've heard all your promises. We hope that you continue to partner with us. We thank you for your partnership for today's program, but that is not the end. We'll be coming to you for more. Fortunately, as Vice Chancellor said, all the money people are here today. We'll be coming to you for more. We thank His Excellency and the Minister for Education for the 200 million Ghana cedis, which they've assured us in the year 2027 from Get Fund, which will go to our digital village, which will go a long way to support the CODES program and other innovative programs. So we are really, really grateful. And the Minister for Education has also whispered to me that in respect of the fees, we can go up to not more than 10, not more than inflation, not more than the rate of inflation. So we are also very grateful for that. Thank you all. It's been a long but very useful morning. We appreciate your attention, and we wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much. Please, at the end of the closing remarks, I kindly implore that you rise for the university anthem, please.
Peace and peace and soul to do
very much. Please resume your seats. And I will now invite Mrs. Regina Faribuatin, School Administrator of the School of Continuing and Distance Education, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please, let's welcome.
Good afternoon. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Madam Chairperson of the University of Ghana Council, Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Honorable Ministers of State, ladies and gentlemen, kindly permit me to stand on already established protocols because of time. On behalf of the University of Ghana and the organizers of the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference, it is my singular honor to extend our sincere appreciation to you all for honoring this important occasion with your presence. We acknowledge with gratitude the Almighty whose guidance and grace has brought us to the successful commencement of yet another Annual New Year School and Conference. Our deepest gratitude goes to our special guest of honor, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, for graciously accepting our invitation and for your distinguished presence. Your firm commitment to education, particularly tertiary education, and your vision for national development align closely with the mission of the University of Ghana. Your address has greatly enriched this occasion and has set a clear direction for the deliberations ahead. Thank you for your generous donation for the organization of the Annual New Year School and Conference and your pledge of the Gets Fund support to the Digital Youth Village. We are very grateful. We are sincerely grateful to the Chairperson of the University of Ghana Council, Madam Marietta Ejewa-Brew, for chairing this program and for your support, Madam. Our appreciation also goes to the Vice Chancellor and the senior management of the University of Ghana for your strategic leadership and unwavering support, which continue to strengthen the university's pursuit of excellence in teaching, research, and service. We thank our distinguished keynote speaker, Mr. Ishmael Yamson of Ishmael Yamson and Associates, for the insightful and thought-provoking presentation. It will direct engagement at the school and conference. Thank you very much, sir. We acknowledge with gratitude our partners of the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference, collaborating ministries, as the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology, and Innovation. We are also equally grateful to other partners, the Bank of Ghana, National Petroleum Authority, National Petroleum Hub Corporation, ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, GNPC, MTN, IDEC, Ghana Free Zones Authority, Rotary, UNFPA, and a host of others for your invaluable support. We are grateful to our international partners, Tallinn University, Estonia, University of Thessaloniki, Greece, University of Thessaloniki, Greece, and representatives and guests from the Bahamas. We are grateful to the Education Minister and all Ministers of State here present. Your Excellency, Madam Chair, kindly permit me to commend the Planning Committee of the 77th Annual New Year School and Conference for their dedication, attention to details, and tireless efforts behind the scenes, which has contributed immensely to the success of this event. We are grateful to the Provost. We are also grateful to the Dean and all the college managements. Madam Registrar, Public Affairs Director, and all other directorates. We remain grateful to the whole university community. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Aferi-Boateng. We have come to the end of the program, and I must join her to thank you all very much for joining us. Please rise for the national anthem. Please remain standing as the platform party recesses. All invited guests will join the platform party at the Vice Chancellor's Lodge, and participants will go to ANYSC to continue the program. Thank you.
Adding to your options, knowing that quality and standard remains intact, and our content, which is accepted as truth and accuracy every day, is accessible on the go. Access your favorite daily graphic and our weeklies The Mirror, Graphic Business, Graphic Showbiz, Junior Graphic, and Graphic Sports on Graphic News Plus app. It's the digital replicas of our work. Download Graphic News Plus app on the Google Play Store, Apple App Store, and available on www.graphicnewsplus.com as you remain abreast of and keep pace with on-the-minute news updates on the go. Home sweet home. Welcome family and friends. Choose the bundle that best works for you from as low as 10 Ghana cedis weekly for unlimited access to all publications. Graphic, truth and accuracy every day. Information is a great source of power. Adding to your options.